This is Jamaica Magazine and I'm Adrian Atkinson. Between the pages, being thoughtful of the nation's seniors during this period of togetherness and love. Stay with us. This is a show with the information to improve your life. It begins now.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, December 15. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke says prospects remain strong for a return to economic growth in Jamaica in short order. Dr. Clarke says this is somewhat predicated on the availability of a COVID-19 vaccine for Jamaica and several of the countries that are among the island's main trading partners, including the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. According to the finance minister, the current economic contraction is not the result of structural factors, but rather the inability of persons and entities to move about freely and engage in economic activities due to the COVID-19 restrictions.
As those conditions are moderated and over time we return to a new normal where persons can freely assemble and congregate as a vaccine becomes available, then Jamaica will naturally, economic activity will naturally pick up.
Minister Clarke was speaking at an economic update media briefing recently. He explained that the services industry had borne the brunt of the impact, while other areas of commercial and economic activities had also been severely affected. But Dr. Clarke stressed that amidst the projection for 10 to 12% economic contraction for the 2020 calendar year and 2020-2021 fiscal year, rebound is expected in 2021-2022. In the meantime, the finance minister is reporting that a number of key recommendations from the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Task Force are being implemented across government ministries. Among these are the implementation of laws that are consistent with Jamaica's international tax obligations and the acceleration of institutional reform. Minister Nigel Clarke says the recent amendment of the Revenue Administration and Bank of Jamaica Acts and the tabling of legislation for the establishment of the Fiscal Commission are examples of these recommendations in action.
It is symbolic that though there is a pandemic and these are not normal times, the government is proceeding with its pre-pandemic plans to strengthen and build institutions to ensure that we all recover stronger.
860,000 airline seats have been secured for the 2020-2021 winter tourist season, which started today. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says it is good news that a number of international airline partners have retained confidence in destination Jamaica despite the challenges brought on by the global COVID-19 pandemic. He says if the airlines are able to garner 50% of their seating capacity to Jamaica, then the country could potentially yield approximately 500,000 visitors during the 4-month season, which ends in April 2021.
And that would be a nice beginning to restore the growth levels that the industry had over the years.
Mr. Bartlett gave the update during a JIS think tank session on Friday. He urged tourism industry stakeholders to maintain the integrity of the established COVID-19 health and safety protocols. During the season, all tourism entities will be revisited by the Tourism Product Development Company to ensure compliance. Provisions are being made for drug samples and photographs of large seizures to be used as evidence in court proceedings. The first stage was secured with the passing of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Bill 2020 and the Evidence Amendment Bill 2020 in Parliament recently. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck says the amendments will provide for secured storage of drugs seized as well as allowance for those drugs to be destroyed.
The underlying principle of the practice directions, Madam Speaker, is that where drugs are seized in a criminal matter, the drugs are to be kept in proper custody and produced for trial. Where the drug seized consists of packages, it is sufficient for evidentiary purposes for all packages to be photographed and samples taken for each by the government analyst and a representative sample from each package kept for evidentiary purposes.
As it stands now, once an arrest is made, the police are required to secure and retain the total seizure for trial. The Justice Minister says this practice has given rise to concerns regarding the adequate storage and security of the drugs while in police custody.
There is the risk, Madam Speaker, that the drugs may end up back in the illicit drug trade, or that the evidence becomes compromised in a manner that impairs the chances of securing a conviction.
And finally, Education Minister Favour Williams is calling on companies and individuals who have been donating tablets and/or laptops to coordinate their activities with the National Education Trust. She says this will be included in the ministry's database to track the number of devices issued to students and the name of the schools to avoid any duplication of future handouts. The National Education Trust may be contacted at 876-967-9007. Minister Williams says many companies and individuals have heard the government's call for one laptop or tablet per child and have jumped on board.
Let me say a big thank you to the many companies and individuals who've heard the call and stepped forward to make their contributions.
The initiative is designed to promote inclusivity in the education sector by providing needy students with the tools to function in the online teaching and learning environment. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Recover with integrity. Recover with integrity. We should all work together. One aim, one vision in the fight against corruption. There is no division. United with the Integrity Commission. Let's stand up and make a healthy decision that we will not turn a blind eye. We will not lead secret lives. We will not accept no bribes. We will not push values aside.
A message from the Integrity Commission.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has been kept busy during the Christmas season working to ensure Jamaica secures economic growth and stability. Next, Mr. Holness's appointments during the past week.
Prime Minister reviews importation of chicken back and neck, welcomes reopening of Scotiabank Centre downtown, and hands over blue papers for Jamaica's Ocean Economy Plan. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the state will be reviewing the process by which licenses are granted for the importation of chicken back and neck. The review follows an Integrity Commission report into the distribution of import licenses for chicken parts.
One thing we're clear on is that it is not an incentive-compatible distribution. In other words, there are ways to do this which would encourage the persons who are merely seeking to import to also get involved in production. In other words, the whole purpose behind the issuing of the license is that when there is a shortfall in the local production, then you import. Somehow there's been a disconnection.
He asserts that the government must examine strategies to incentivize the granting of import licenses.
The people who are importing should also be the people who are producing. And in that way, it is incentive compatible, because if you are producing here, then you are not so likely and you wouldn't have the incentive to always want to be importing.
Prime Minister Holness says he will be reviewing the report with Cabinet, and going forward, improvements to the system are needed to ensure availability of the product in the local marketplace. Part of that process will involve ways to shock-proof the island's protein supply chain for both chicken and fish.
That would mean, for example, supporting the tilapia farms that exist, expand that production to make it more affordable and to ensure that they are grown under conditions that are environmentally friendly and healthy for human consumption fully, and indeed have some taste. And then to look at the potential here of growing feedstock for feeding our chicken.
In the meantime, Mr. Holness is urging Jamaicans to reconsider their consumption of the parrotfish. There's been growing calls for a ban on parrotfish, which have been said to clean coral reefs by eating algae and excrete sand, countering beach erosion. While disclosing his personal decision not to consume parrotfish, Mr. Holness emphasized the species' importance to the country's ecosystem and marine health.
I think as every single Jamaican should take this into consideration, that our consumption of this species of fish could actually have an impact on our environment. We have overfished our fishing stock to the point where the alternatives to the parrotfish, we have overfished them. So it's the parrotfish which lives very well in this region. It's there in abundance. We have to be far more enlightened in how we manage our fishery resources. We can actually fish it to an end. It is possible, and we have seen it.
Farmers in St. Catherine and Clarendon are said to benefit from a £17 million program aimed at increasing productivity and access to markets. On Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness launched the Southern Plains Agricultural Development SPAD project. It's funded by a grant from the United Kingdom Caribbean's Infrastructure Fund and administered by the Caribbean Development Bank. The project is aligned with the recently launched Essex Valley Agricultural Project in St. Elizabeth, which is also funded by the United Kingdom. Mr. Holness says the SPAD project is a direct response to the need to repurpose St. Catherine and Clarendon lands previously under sugarcane.
The project targets 795 hectares of government-owned land to be leased to farmers in the communities of Amity Hall in St. Catherine and Parnassus in Clarendon. Small and medium-sized farmers are to make up the majority of the beneficiaries, and they will have 495 hectares allocated to them. Some 15% of the space, that is 124 hectares, I gather, will be reserved for women farmers, and 70 acres will be set aside for young farmers.
The planned infrastructure works will incorporate climate change measures such as improved irrigation, drainage and flood control systems, and farm roads expansion and rehabilitation. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is calling on more businesses to invest in the redevelopment of downtown Kingston. In addition to a tax incentive program, he points out that the area will benefit from a police plaza, a new water transmission pipeline, and the Government Circle project.
As I travel through downtown Kingston and I look at the buildings and the facilities, there is no question that there is so much potential here, but the incentives have not been taken up, and the property owners, some have, but many have not reinvested in the area. And we really need to spark new interest in redeveloping and developing the properties that exist in this area.
The Prime Minister delivered his comments as he welcomed Scotiabank's $1.5 billion investment in its renovated centre at the corner of Duke and Port Royal Streets Thursday. As part of the renovations, Scotia incorporated a social zone with iPads for customer use and artifacts from the 131 years of the life of the bank, including a 100-year-old vault.
The vision to overhaul the traditional transactional nature of banking halls and to transform them into hubs of financial empowerment for customers will promote financial inclusion, which is a necessary measure for Jamaica to increase productivity and efficiency and ensure that Jamaica recovers stronger and better than before.
The high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy is now in receipt of Jamaica's blue papers for its ocean economy plan. The document was handed over by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Thursday. Mr. Holness said that as an archipelagic state, the ocean economy was very important to Jamaica.
Jamaica has an exclusive economic zone of approximately 235,000 square kilometers, which is approximately 24 times our landmass. Most of our population live in communities within 5 kilometers of the coast. Jamaica has also one of the highest levels of fish consumption per capita, and fishing remains a major source of livelihood for many Jamaican households. The ocean economy presents vast potential for growth and development. However, we also recognize increasing threats to ocean health from human activities and climate change.
The high-level panel was formed in 2018 and is made up of 14 states, including Jamaica. On Sunday, 30 youth and organizations that work with young people were presented with the Prime Minister's National Youth Award. They were recognized for their contributions to 12 key areas of Jamaica's development, including innovation in science and technology, arts and culture, youth development, journalism, sports and academics.
Your passion for excellence and your achievements to date at this very exciting and meaningful stage of your life provide strong encouragement to those who are following in your footsteps. My government is committed to expanding opportunities for our youth to have a better future. Despite the challenges that COVID-19 brought this year, I have great hopes for the future, and today shows Jamaica is in good hands.
And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
If I cancel them you off, make sure you gon' get them down. That is how we are go trace them, identify them, target and trace it. Prevent disease from spreading, your health is worth defending. Target and trace it. You know what thing fi hide, tag them with pride, help put the coat even out of style. Target and trace it.
A message from the Agricultural Competitiveness Program of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries.
COVID-19 still a keep and Christmas a come. This could mean a lonely period is on the horizon for those with pre-existing conditions, such as older adults. Let's not forget our seniors this Yuletide season. Take a look at how you can show some elderly love. Watch this.
Isolation. That's how some older adults would describe 2020. The repeated restrictions on elderly persons going out to work and elsewhere were necessary, but still overwhelming for some.
Now we have to remember the reason for this season, and it's also a time for giving. And so we need to look out for our elderly and shut-in persons within our communities. So for example, our Citizens Association should promote knowing who your neighbor is. Who are those elderly persons or shut-ins within your community that may need some greater assistance?
This Christmas, more than before, seniors may feel lonely as the pandemic rules linger. So consider how your holiday plans may be modified to include grandma, grandpa, or that elderly person you know will be alone during the festivities. The Yuletide season is centered on love and togetherness, and no one, especially those who have toiled to build their communities, should feel forgotten. Yes, if you're an adult with certain medical conditions who is at increased risk of severe illness from COVID-19, you should avoid in-person gatherings with people who do not live in your household. That does not, however, stop or should prevent seniors from being a part of the holiday celebrations. Here are some tips on how to spread cheer to the elderly during this season of love. Celebrate virtually. On the days leading up, consider reaching out to the elderly and ask if they would be inclined for a games night online. It could be as simple as a karaoke or sharing of old-time stories. Prepare a traditional family dish, something you know your older relatives will like, and have it delivered to their home. Having a virtual dinner and sharing recipes with friends and family is in line with the spirit of virtual events in 2020.
So you want to be able to still engage and to interact socially. Let's do it virtually. So you yourselves within your household and your family, and then you set up your TV or your laptop or your tablet and have a virtual sit-down dinner.
Watch church online. This could be on Christmas Day for morning service and the Sundays preceding and following Christmas and New Year's Sunday services. At the community, make a list of neighboring older adults and give them a ring on Christmas Day. Community associations or groups of individuals may host caroling sessions at the homes of seniors on Christmas Day.
While you can go and spread cheer by caroling, but even when caroling, make sure you're wearing your masks so that with this singing, we are not necessarily transmitting.
Groups may also plan and host a drive-by gift drop-off. The gifts could be delivered on Christmas Eve or on the day. Let's cherish our seniors. After all, they have been doing the same for us all our lives. They should not be left out of the festivities or feel lonely during this period.
The National Water Commission is increasing the provision of tap water to communities across the country. Coming up, those plans and the initiatives for access to the commodity.
Every day, you have to contemplate how you're going to live your life without water. And for many of you, it would have been a struggle.
That's the challenge for many Jamaicans, not being able to access potable water in the comfort of their homes. While some persons have intermittent shortages, for others it has been a long-standing issue.
Who don't have to buy water, have to catch water, store water, walk with water. While other people have convenience. Turn on the pipe and have water in them house. Why you can't have that?
The government has been putting a serious dent into this burning issue by making water available to communities across the island. This is being done through the combined efforts of the National Water Commission (NWC) and the Rural Water Supply Limited (RSWL).
In modern Jamaica, we should reach the point where everybody has potable water, meaning water that you can drink, water that you can use to do your domestic chores with, in your home. And that is our goal. This government hears the cry of the people for water. Water is necessary for your fields, but it is necessary also for your homes. It is an important convenience of life. But more than that, as Dave said, it is your right to have water.
$528 million has been set aside in this year's budget to construct and maintain water supply systems across rural Jamaica. Implementing agency Rural Water Supply Limited has several projects planned for the financial year. Among them are the rehabilitation of catchment tanks island-wide, installation of water-efficient fixtures and rainwater harvesting systems in schools, and the upgrading of rural water supply systems in select parishes. They include Islington St. Mary, Watermount St. Catherine, New Eden in Portland, Maroon Town and Tangle River in St. James, as well as Bath and Hayward in St. Thomas. Already, the RSWL has delivered the Flower Hill water supply system. 30 years in the making, the $110 million project will supply water to Flower Hill and adjoining communities. The infrastructure, which was constructed in partnership with the National Water Commission, consists of 2 relifting stations, storage tanks and gravity lines, which will be fed from the Greater Montego Bay water system.
I was born in Flower Hill, and from I was born, I come and see my mother, my father, my other older siblings, them carrying water on their head. And that was so painful because we have to carry it from some river.
I'm very, very, very happy because you see this water problem, it has been plaguing this community for years and years and years gone by. And for us to see water turn on today, for us to get it in the house, that's a big boost.
Over in Hanover, the National Water Commission and the Rural Water Supply Limited came together again to provide the liquid to the people of Jericho and adjoining communities. The Claremont to Jericho water supply system was installed at a cost of $400 million. The project ends the community's 48-year drought.
Every single Jamaican can be assured that the government is making the investment in water according to strategic priorities. We want to know where we're going to get the greatest economic return. We're going to want to look at, for example, where we can ensure that when we make the investment, we can get the repayment. But we also have a duty to make the investment where people have been without water for many years.
I'm very, very proud to know that over the years, about 40 to 48 years, we haven't got any water in this community. And I'm very glad to know that today, on the 8th of August 2020, we are getting our water supply.
Buying water for $5,000, $7,000 per drum is very, very expensive. So for me, it's really a blessing. And the community is very, very, very proud knowing that it has reached to this far.
A similar NWC project in north central Clarendon has resulted in Moko and surrounding communities getting the commodity. The Moko Relief Station will serve the Red Bank, Cedars and Pusey communities, as well as Lennon High and a neighboring basic school.
It is not rare for the NWC to be operating in rural areas. But more and more, this administration is pushing the NWC to expand what is called the utility area, meaning the area in which they supply water for persons to be metered. For all the other communities in Jamaica who are waiting just as long and even longer for water, have faith, have hope.
Even as the government increases citizens' access to water, we can all ensure that all Jamaicans get the commodity. How? By practicing water conservation measures and paying your water bills. The more regularly you pay, the more funds will be available to lay new pipes, repair broken ones, and implement more water projects.
If you don't pay, the NWC can't pay. If the NWC can't pay, then they have debt. And if they have debt, it becomes the government's debt. The government can't print money. So the only way that the government is going to repay the debt is more taxes. So either way, so it is better that you pay the rates which are set reasonably and you manage your consumption of the water, because when you didn't have the water, it costs much more to pay for a truckload of water than it would cost you to use the water in the pipes.
You've reached the final page of the magazine. Thanks so much for being with us on today's journey. Another Jamaica Magazine unfolds tomorrow, so come back same time on this same station. Until then, click on our social media pages for more informative features. While there, please subscribe to our pages and click that notification bell so you can stay in the know. I'm Adrian Atkinson, encouraging you to stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.